Kisloty People by Schacke today. Got the track up here, I broke it down here, so let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to start with a kick on every beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a clap on the 2 and the 4 for 32 bars. Clap has a lot of reverb on it, so here we go. Alright, let's take a pause for a second. So far this has been really straightforward, which is part of the coolness of this track. So again, like I said, kick and the clap are going for 32 bars. You will notice at the end of a 16 bars, we have this small little drum fill, if you will, this little... just the little variation in the kick. That's because we just completed a 16-bar cycle. By getting this little variation at the end, it gets us excited for a new cycle, keeps it slightly more interesting than it would have been had we not had this double kick thing here, most likely. Then just another small little thing happens at the end of this second 16-bar interval of kicks. It looks like the kick just gets like high passed or something. Yep, the kick just gets high pass, which means they took the low end out of the kick, which then makes it adds suspense because you're like, oh, where'd the kick go? But then don't worry, it comes right back in here. Now, I want to point out we're at bar 33, so now we're starting to add some new stuff. We have the vocal line come in. Now, the vocal line of this track is super, super important, and you'll notice I put 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 here, and then like 2 over here. You'll see why this vocal line is different from this vocal line. And so you're just gonna want to pay attention to that because there's gonna be this dance that goes from 1 to 2, 1 to 2, then 1 to 2 eventually. So basically, yeah. Then we also have the introduction of a bass element that's not the kick. Listen to this little thing here. Boom. If you're listening on your laptop, you might not be able to hear that. You probably need to get some headphones or any speaker that has sub in it. But yeah. So obviously the reason why this song is staying interesting at bar 33 is because we get a new element, the bass, but even more importantly, I have to say, is the vocal. This vocal is super cool. I think it's some old, like Russian pop song or something like that. Comment below if you know what it is. You can Google it. I just didn't. But okay, so now we're going to get another 30, how much is this? 16 bars, and we're just going to be having this vocal phrase repeat. Basically, we get the vocal phrase twice, and then we're going to get some more difference occurring. So let's listen to this, then we'll go into the next section, and we'll keep talking. Alright, if you haven't heard this song before, hopefully you are already understanding why this is such a dope track. The vocal's amazing, the simplicity is amazing, it's just amazing. So, okay, like I said, this vocal phrase repeats, number 1. Listen to this first bar, and then we'll listen to this bar, and you'll see how they're the same. This bar is the same as this bar as well. So you see, this is just repeating. So now you're like, okay, how do we keep this interesting as we continue on? We probably don't want to just like keep repeating that vocal. So then you get a different vocal. Notice the difference between this bar here and this bar. You'll hear the different vocal. See that? So now we got a different 8-bar vocal line, and I love it. I don't know this language, but I love how part of what makes this song cool to me is like you hear them say like DJ, Kisloty music, Kisloty people. Like I don't know, it does. At least when I hear it, it does make me think of like clubs and I don't know. It has that sense of like we're gonna have a night out and it's gonna be awesome, even though I don't know the words. And I think that's cool. But yeah, so not only do we have the vocal changing here, we have an offbeat coming into the game. As always, boots and cats and boots and cats. Kick is the boots. Nts is the offbeat and cats is the clap. Yeah. So offbeat comes in addition to the changing vocal. Again, that's labeled vocal 2 because these are the 2 vocal loops in the track. Vocal loop 1, vocal loop 2. And now we're just gonna, it's very cool. Just like we did here, where we repeated vocal loop 1 by having it play once here and then repeating it there. We're gonna do the same thing. We introduce vocal loop 2, then we're gonna repeat it, again with the introduction of the offbeat. And then to like keep it interesting again, you're gonna notice once we get to this next, what is that, 16 bars, the offbeat's gonna get a little stronger. You're gonna hear like a layering of the offbeat, and then we're gonna shift back to vocal 1. Let's just listen for that real quick. Awesome. So again, the simplicity in this track is just killer. So listen specifically to the offbeat. Listen to how it sounds here versus here. Let's try it like this. Listen here. And then listen here. There's more happening here in the offbeat. If you can't hear that, just try listening to like this section a few times where you get the transition into it. And then once again, just to point out, you'll notice this is a common trick. Before the end of like a 16-bar cycle, they'll just quickly high pass the kick because that just makes it sound, it makes you anticipate the next cycle. It lets your brain know, hey, like a new cycle's coming, so get ready, it's gonna be dope. Just like we had earlier. But okay, so now we are about to get to the kind of trancey part of the song, and this is awesome. I'm just gonna let you hear it. And if you heard me say trance and you immediately got sad, just don't do that. This is gonna be dope, I promise. So okay, let's keep listening. Let's see what happens. I just had to let that play. This song isn't it crazy? I swear, during this quarantine, there's been times I've gotten down and then I hear this track and I'm like, oh, I forgot clubs are a thing. I forgot dancing is a thing. And then I'm just like, yeah, techno's great. I know some people might not call this techno. I don't know. I call it techno. Whatever. I'm not going to get into that. Okay, so basically we get like up until this point, we're at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. It's almost like a prolonged intro in a way. That's like one way to think about it, because once this bass line gets this brought in, it's like really taking on a new world. And part of why this song is so cool, and I think part of why it's so effective, at least from a DJ standpoint, is this is just a really easy track to mix in. I mean, again, you got 32 bars of just kick and clap, and then yeah, the vocal does have a prominent melody, but like the bass isn't doing anything prominent in the sense of the bass isn't like establishing like a strong tone. So if you had another track with a bass line, I don't know, maybe it would like be easier to blend because you're mostly just dealing with a kick on the low end on this track. But whatever. So basically, we've talked about how we're going from 1 to 2, 1 to 2. So you'll notice that happens once again. Once we get to this point, we have... Wait. The kick here is high passed. So I think it's still in there. Yeah. So the kick is high passed. The bass line's introduced. And then we also get this like twinkly thing, like do, 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 do. So now we're getting a lot of melodic stuff from the instrumental parts. And yeah, I mean, it's just super cool because with the introduction of this bass line and with the twinkly sound, even though we've already heard 2 before, we're hearing 2, like vocal 2, in such a different way. We've never had vocal 2 with this bass line with this twinkly sound before. Like, look, you just don't see this combination. And so this is just super cool. And like, obviously, it's not just because it's a combination that makes it cool. It's the fact that like like the vocal is dope, the bass line is dope, the twinkle is dope, the way they interact with each other is dope. It's all right, I'll stop. So I personally love how after this first 8 bars, the anticipation builds up even more with the introduction of the 16th note hi-hat. And I love the 16th note hi-hat because it's just exciting. It's just very exciting. So let's listen for once that comes in. It just levels the game of tension up even more. But yeah, then after that breakdown, we just bring it all back in, drop the kick, give us that low end. Now everything's just running. We are cruising at this point. And that's awesome. But then after 8 bars of that, you're like, okay, let's chill a little bit. So they'll drop off those 16th note hats. And then, yeah, and they'll drop out those 16th note hats. And then they're going to get to the fucked up vocal part, which I will talk about in a second. Okay, cool. So basically, like, the way I take this section here is once this vocal comes in, the vocal is so cool and it's so, like, prominent that you don't really get a break, but you don't want a break, so that's fine. And eventually, though, like, you just had this huge moment of tension. You had this great release. And now we get even more release. I call this fucked up vocal because if you listen closely, it sounds like it's actually... I can't remember if it's vocal 1 or 2, but it sounds like it's either vocal 1 or 2, but it's just like bit crushed or it's just like distorted or I don't know. I don't know exactly what they did, but like it sounds it sounds like the original vocal that was just like mangled. So listen for that. I think it's a vocal number 2. DJ, hey, you can hear it going like DJ. So, all right, where do we go from here? So, like I said, we were going hard here. We start to cool off. We start to cool off again. They do add a little more anticipation here, but then that's just so we can cool off once again. So, you know, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that often, like, most of this techno music is like a dance between creating tension and releasing tension. And so yeah, we had a lot of just vibe here, but then we have to release it. We release it again. We add a little bit, but then we're just going to release it again. The reason why this is this color is because I didn't really check this super hardcore, but basically the twinkle usually... Just listen to the twinkle pattern. There's a lot of do 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 do. This high note here is happening pretty frequently. Listen for that one more time. Do do. And I just noticed at the end here that high note only happens like once. I thought that was interesting. Maybe the reason why it's different is because we're about to drop out the twinkle. So why not give it a little variation just to, like, it's almost like it's bow out of the track for a while. And then you'll notice the bass line gets taken out. It sounds like they're like delaying and reverbing it. Let's hear it again. Yeah, it sounds like it's getting delayed. It sounds like it's getting high passed. Just so we can get it out of the way, because now we're just going to get back to basics, strip it back down to just vocals and drums and bass. And yeah, notice again, but prior to the fucked up part, we were on vocal 1, so it only makes sense that we're going to continue this pattern of going 1 2 1 2 1 2. You might be saying that's not really 1 2 because the fucked up part's in between, but at the same time, the fucked up part is so different. Like, for the purpose of this video, I could have even put this on a different track because, you know, 1 and 2 are just one. Hopefully, I don't want to. Y'all know what I mean. This is just really different sounding. And I do think because the vocal really drives this song, it seems to make sense to go back to 2 here versus back to 1, just because we haven't heard 2 for a while. But we did hear 1 over here, so might as well start with 2. But okay, so let's keep going. Alright, so we're basically just like repeating this, like the idea of this first part. We stripped it back down. Now we're going to build it back up. And there's not really much else to say. Like, this song's very simple. It starts off bare bones. You add the vocal. Whoops. You add the bass line on a breakdown. You go hard on this bass line and breakdown. You bring the kick back in. You strip it back down. Then you build it back up, going ham once again. Always going 1 2 1 2, switching off on the vocal, adding in that fucked up vocal once in a while, and just enjoying this track. So let's just play this out to the end. Comment if you have any questions. Like this video if you've enjoyed it so far. Hopefully it's given you a cool idea of how this song's constructed. I mean, I'm trying not to talk as much in these videos, but now if you're still here, you probably are down to listen. But yeah, like I said, this track is super simple, and I say that in the most reverent way possible. Like, this was like a big hit. I mean, it still is very popular right now, and it's cool because I'm based in Detroit, and a lot of this like faster Copenhagen trancey techno is not really being played much here at this moment. Well, especially now because of quarantine, but prior to this, I wasn't really hearing it much. But whenever I've dropped this track, everyone flips, and it's just a great track. It's really incredible, and I know we've mostly been doing older tracks on this channel so far. I do want to start doing some more recent stuff like this. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Let's just listen to the end. And if you want this project file so you can look at it, email me. If you want any private lessons, email me. That's in the description. And I'd probably just put it up on the page. So, okay. Or on the screen. All right. Let's just listen to the end. And there you have it. Kisloty people, Schacke, amazing. Yes, listen to it if you, just go listen to it if you haven't yet. Buy the track, support the artist, support the label. Links to that in the description. If you want the project files, let me know. I am not going to include the track with the project file, so you're going to have to buy the track if you want the project file and if you want to analyze it like this. It's the least you can do. Artists need that money. So, yeah. All right, y'all. Have a nice night, day, morning, whatever. And bye-bye.